Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so if you really want to get your head around the aerospace industry today, well, you've got to hold two ideas in your mind at once. On one hand, there's this intense, immediate operational stress, bottlenecks, delays, and on the other, just thrilling, almost unbelievable innovation for the future. Things like hydrogen flight, air taxis,
Yeah,
quite the contrast.
exactly. That tension is, well, it's what we're digging into for you today. We've pulled together quite a range of sources. Think, the big reports and visions from manufacturers, Airbus, Boeing, Embraer, but also the really blunt, on-the-ground stuff from regulators like the FAA, real-world reports.
Yeah, connecting those future blueprints with the immediate hurdles, supply chains, safety, things they have to clear right now.
That's the mission.
It really is a study in contrast, isn't it? You've got manufacturers pushing the pedal to the floor on production, and then regulators having to, well, hit the brakes on how many planes can actually fly.
Yeah, a real push and pull.
So let's unpack this. Maybe start where the big money is. The global manufacturing titans. What are their current missions?
Okay, let's start with Airbus. When we talk Airbus, we're talking, well, massive scope. It's not just the big passenger jets we all see. It's helicopters, defense space, even security systems, a huge portfolio.
Right. They're a global force, aren't they? Something like 157,000 employees.
That's right, 157,000 employees.
That's right. 157,000 people across 180 locations worldwide. Truly global.
But despite that huge, diverse operation, their big challenge this year seems really specific. Just getting planes delivered.
That's the crunch point. They set this really ambitious goal, 820 deliveries for 2025.
820, okay.
And the logistics of hitting that, well, our sources show by the end of October they delivered 585.
Okay, so doing the math, they need quite a few more by year end.
Quite a few is putting it mildly. They need 235 aircraft delivered in just November and December. Analysts are calling it daunting.
Daunting, yeah, I can see why. 235 in 2 months.
Think about it. Last year, same period, they managed 207, which was already intense. So they need to beat that record by nearly 30 planes in, what, 8 weeks?
Precisely. It really highlights the pressure. Now, their underlying finances look strong. The 9-month EBIT adjusted was $4.1 billion.
So solid operating profit.
Very solid. But that delivery crunch, it tells you the physical supply chain friction is the real bottleneck stopping them from hitting even bigger numbers.
Okay, so that's Airbus. Huge scale, huge ambition, but facing a serious delivery race. What about Boeing?
Well, Boeing's narrative right now is heavily focused on quality and safety. It has to be, really, given recent history. Internally, the message is strengthen safety, strengthen quality first, then innovation.
Makes sense.
And
Commercially, what are they pushing?
they're moving ahead with expanding their 787 facilities. That's a key step. And promoting the upcoming 777-9 fleet. That's the big one everyone's watching.
777-9.
Right.
But Boeing's not just commercial jets either, is it?
Not at all. They've got a massive non-commercial footprint. Remember the Artemis mission to the moon?
Yeah.
So Boeing built the core stage that powered it. So
Yep.
still very deep in space exploration.
Interesting. So different focus, but still huge scale.
Definitely. And this plays into that ongoing competition. You see news like Aerostana ordering 15 new 787 Dreamliners.
Okay.
And then Turkish Airlines finalizing a big deal for GE engines for their 787s. It's a constant battle for every single wide-body order.
And that 777-9 or 777X, as it's often called, that's caught up in delays, right? You mentioned it's highly anticipated.
It is, but yes, delays are a major factor. It was meant to replace the older 777-300ER, the real workhorse. But now the sources are saying it's delayed until 2027, at least.
2027. Wow. That must create some real headaches for airlines planning their fleets.
Oh, absolutely. A profound strategic headache. Think about it. Airlines are forced into a really costly choice. Do they spend a lot of money keeping those older, less fuel-efficient 777-300ERs flying well into the 2030s?
Which costs more every day in fuel and maintenance.
Exactly. Or do they maybe switch suppliers entirely? Go for the Airbus A350, maybe. But that complicates their fleet, their training, their parts.
Right. So a delay isn't just a date moving on a calendar. It triggers these huge, expensive, long-term decisions for the airlines.
Precisely. Ripple effects everywhere.
Okay, so we've got Airbus racing deliveries, Boeing focusing on safety, and the delayed 777X. What about the third big player, Embraer?
Embraer operates a bit differently. It's more about agility, maybe. They don't have the sheer volume of the other two,
Yes.
but they leverage their, 55 plus years of expertise across several key segments: commercial jets, executive jets, defense and security, and services and support. Quite diverse.
And they seem to carve out niches, right? Specialized areas.
That's their strength, specialized innovation. Like they have this agricultural aviation division.
Disarming planes.
Basically, yeah. Their Ipanema aircraft is actually certified to fly using biofuel, specifically ethanol.
Huh. So while Airbus is talking hydrogen for the future,
Embraer has an operational biofuel solution flying today. It's a different approach to sustainability.
and they're making a big bet on those flying taxis, the eVTOLs.
A massive bet. Through their company, Eve Air Mobility. And it's not just building the vehicle, the eVTOL itself. They're thinking about the whole system. The urban air mobility, or UAM ecosystem. They even started a joint venture, Nidec Aerospace,
Yeah.
just to develop the electric motors for these things.
Wow, vertical integration for the future air taxi market. That's ambitious.
Very. Building the plane, the motors, thinking about the traffic control.
Okay, so the manufacturers are clearly pushing hard, building planes, setting goals, innovating like crazy.
Yes, the ambition and the tech development are running full steam ahead.
But this is where that tension comes back in, right?
Right.
Because the system that has to manage all these planes seems to be under incredible strain.
Exactly. The stress test isn't really on the factory floor, it's in the air traffic control tower. And, frankly, in the regulator's office.
So let's talk about that friction. What's happening with the FAA, the regulator in the U.S.?
Well, here's the massive contradiction. How do you support the growth the manufacturers want when the operational system is actually, shrinking? The headlines are pretty stark. Due to safety concerns, staffing issues, policy changes, the U.S. Transportation Secretary and the FAA administrator announced some pretty drastic actions.
Okay, what kind of action?
A forced 10% reduction in flights
10%. Across the board.
at 40 high-traffic airports across the U.S., a 10% cut at major hubs.
Wow, that's staggering. That's not a minor adjustment.
Not at all. It's a systemic pullback. Our sources say U.S. airlines, airports, they're all bracing for this. The data points to steep mid-November disruptions. We're potentially talking about canceling over 300 to 400 flights daily.
3,400 daily.
Yeah.
If the core problem is, say, controller shortages, is just cutting capacity the long-term fix? Or is it?
Is it a giant Band-Aid that hurts passengers? That's the debate, isn't it?
Right. And isn't there also stress within the agencies themselves?
Yeah.
Funding issues.
Yes, compounding the problem. Parts of the Department of Transportation, including the FAA, have been dealing with shutdown or furlough risks due to budget appropriations lapsing.
So the system is underfunded and potentially short-staffed.
Right when it needs to be performing at its absolute peak.
The irony is, I saw reports that airlines might be stepping in financially to help with air traffic controller pay during gaps.
It's incredible, isn't it? Airlines reportedly stepping up because the government infrastructure is struggling. It just shows the profound strain the system is under.
Okay, so regulatory and staffing bottlenecks are a huge friction point. What else? The planes themselves?
Yes, the physical fleet. Specifically, maintaining the older aircraft flying today. This brings in the MRO sector, maintenance, repair, and overhaul.
MRO, right? The mechanics keeping everything running.
Exactly, it's the backbone. And it's busy. We see news like Standard Aero and GMF forming a new engine MRO partnership just to handle the workload.
And the challenge gets worse with older planes, I assume. Like old cargo planes?
Definitely. Take the Boeing 747-400 freighter, a classic example. Many operators bought them relatively cheap years ago, so low capital cost on the books.
Okay, sounds good so far.
But running them now, that's different. Fuel costs are way higher than newer planes, and every big maintenance check, it costs a fortune and takes the plane out of service for ages.
So it's that classic tension. Cheap to buy, but potentially ruinous to operate day to day.
Precisely. The accountants might like the low initial costs, but the operations teams are tearing their hair out over the fuel bills and the downtime. A constant tug of war.
Okay. Wow. So we've painted a picture of intense pressure right now. Manufacturing ramp-ups hitting supply walls, regulatory systems actually cutting capacity.
Yeah, the present is definitely challenging.
But, as we said at the start, the industry isn't just dealing with today. They're pouring, unimaginable resources into engineering the future, right?
Absolutely. Despite all these hurdles, the innovation push is relentless. This is where things get really exciting.
Let's talk decarbonization first. That seems unavoidable now.
Mandatory, really, not optional. The big immediate focus is sustainable aviation fuel SAF. That's the drop-in replacement fuel made from sustainable sources.
So, Use existing planes, but with cleaner fuel.
That's the near-term plan. But the long-term visions are, well, revolutionary.
Like Airbus. What are they looking at beyond SAF?
Airbus has this whole strategy, yes, SF, but also hydrogen power. That's their zero concept. They're actively exploring hybrid electric flight, even solar flight concepts.
So hedging their bets, exploring multiple paths.
Seems like it. Placing bets on maybe 5 different future technologies at once. It's a massive R&D effort.
And Boeing, what's their angle on sustainability?
Boeing's approach seems quite analytical. They've developed something called the Cascade Climate Impact Model.
Cascade, what does it do?
It's basically a sophisticated tool. It lets users model different strategies, operational changes, fleet upgrades, new tech to see how they reduce aviation emissions out to 2050.
So using data to optimize the path to lower emissions.
Exactly. It's about optimizing what we do now as much as building something totally new.
And this focus is actually changing airline decisions already.
We're seeing signs of it. Like Wizz Air, they adjusted some of their Airbus delivery timings specifically to align better with what they termed more sustainable growth.
Interesting. So sustainability pressure is directly influencing billion-dollar fleet decisions.
It appears so. Efficiency is paramount.
Okay, beyond cleaner conventional flight, what about those completely new ways to fly? Urban air mobility.
Right, UAM. This could be the most disruptive frontier. We mentioned Embraer's Eve Air Mobility.
Yeah, the flying taxi venture.
And their approach is holistic, remember, not just building the eVTOL vehicle. They're designing the air traffic management systems needed to, safely integrate potentially thousands of these things into city skies.
That's the really tricky part, isn't it? Managing the traffic.
Huge challenge, but the momentum is undeniable. Tokyo is planning for electric air taxis by 2030.
2030, that's not far off.
And startups in the U.S. like Archer and Joby, they're already flying demos in places like the UAE. Eve just signed a deal in Bahrain, too. This isn't just lab work anymore.
It feels like it's moving much faster than people expected.
It really does seem to be accelerating into the commercial realm.
Okay, sustainability, UAM. What about the traditional pillars? Defense and space. Still growing.
Definitely still expanding. Look at Airbus in space. They're involved in Earth observation, telecoms, building satellites like Sentinel-1D.
Sentinel-1D.
They call it the radar that never sleeps. Critical global monitoring.
And on the defense side?
Major programs are moving forward. Things like the Future Combat Air System, FCAS, in Europe, the B-21 bomber program in the U.S.
But even there, friction exists. Quality control issues.
It seems so. There was news about the USAF inspecting its KC-135 tanker fleet after finding some falsified maintenance certifications.
So that struggle for quality, for compliance, is persistent, even on vital military aircraft.
It underscores that operational diligence is critical across the board, commercial, military, everywhere.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together for you listening. We've covered this industry that seems split in two, sprinting forward on innovation while kind of tripping over its own feet operationally today.
That's a good way to put it. If you connect the big threads, you have immense pressure. Manufacturers trying this historic production ramp-up, remember that 235 aircraft target for Airbus.
Right, in just 2 months.
While at the exact same time, the regulator, the FAA, is forced to cut current flight volume by 10% at major airports because of resources and safety concerns.
A total mismatch between production ambition and system capacity.
Exactly. And while that bottleneck is choking today's system,
Companies like Embraer, through Eve, and others are launching entirely new businesses to put more aircraft electric air taxis into busy urban skies.
which leads us to the final, really critical question for you to think about. The sources clearly show a regulatory and air traffic system struggling, actually reducing capacity just to handle today's conventional flights safely. So can that same system realistically evolve fast enough and robustly enough to safely manage the completely new layer of urban air mobility, the technology the industry is building and testing right now, and plans to launch commercially very soon, maybe within this decade?
Will innovation just flat out outpace regulation? Can the safety systems keep up with the tech?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Something to mull over as you watch the skies.
A fascinating tension indeed. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.